Hey guys, I'm back for another review. Well, my shirt can give you a hint of what movie I'm going to review. Today I'm going to review the remake, A Day of the Dead. I actually like this cover. It's a zombie puking out guts. Bleh, bleh. Although the actual cover is just puking out guts. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Dead series. And I have the original Day of the Dead right over here. This is one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. I mean, I like all these of the Dead series, directed by George A. Romero. I mean, I like all of his movies. I like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead. I even like Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead, two of his movies that aren't really popular. I also have this movie, Day of the Dead 2, Contagion. There's a lot of hate for this movie, but to me, I actually thought this movie was the kind of movie that's so bad it was kind of fun. I mean, it was bad overall, but pretty fun. And you know it has a 2 in the title. It's called Day of the Dead 2. It's not really connected to Day of the Dead, so it's like an unofficial sequel. Well, so anyway, let's get this on. My review on Day of the Dead, the remake. Now for my other reviews, you probably think I like this movie. And the answer to that is no, I don't like this movie. But now, you think I hate this movie. The answer to that is also no, I don't hate this movie. I mean, there are times where I kind of debate whether I like this movie because I wanted to like this movie. I definitely tried to, because it was a remake to one of my favorite George A. Romero zombie movies. But for some reason, I just can't really come to like this movie. But I'm trying not to hate it, though. That's another thing. But maybe in a way I do hate this movie. In a way I do hate it. And because of all the flaws in this movie. I mean, this movie did have a simple story, because the story is about this town that has this outbreak, this virus outbreak that's getting people sick, getting bloody noses, and so the army's quarantining the town. So we saw, like, a lot of the town is infected, and so the results of this virus has turned them into zombies. And the zombies in this movie, they looked okay. I mean, they had some CGI in there, and zombie skin, CGI blood. Come on, is it really necessary to CGI that? Although there were times where they used makeup prosthetics for the zombies, which was pretty good looking. They looked pretty gross looking overall. Okay, so also, I like the remake of Dawn of the Dead, so I had high hopes for this movie. I also saw that Ving Rhames is in this movie, since he was in Dawn of the Dead, so he was cool in the remake of Dawn of the Dead. He was kicking some zombie ass. But in this movie, I was a little disappointed with his role because he didn't get to kick zombie ass, and he gets eaten and then turned into a zombie. But it was cool, though, to see him as a zombie, because I was wondering what it would be like if he was a zombie, so got my answer right over there. Also, this movie has a lot of bad editing in this movie. A lot of bad editing, because the way the zombies were running, they were running zombies in this one instead of walking. I do like the running zombies because they're more threatening than the walking ones, even though I prefer the walking zombies overall because I think it's more classic that way. But the way they were running looked like they were just like all sped up in like the editing process. And also they were leaping too, looked like they were on wires, which I'm guessing that's how they did. They were just suspended on wires and they just digitally removed the wires. So it looks like they're just jumping by themselves. We also had zombies crawling on ceilings. It's like they're spider zombies. They also had some very bad fire special effects. Like there was part of these zombies were on fire and they were just exploding, like more like just popping like balloons. I mean, when a person just like melts into like a skeleton if they were on fire, not like pop like a balloon. This movie to me kind of felt like Planet Terror, like the way it was filmed, the lighting in this movie, which I'm guessing that's what they were trying to do. Probably just rip off that movie because everyone liked it, it was successful, so they just thought, let's make a zombie movie like that. But it didn't work out in this movie. It worked in Planet Terror, but just it didn't work out in this movie. Although there was some good things, like it did have a good cast. It had Nick Cannon, who I watched on Nickelodeon when I was a kid, so he was killing zombies, which was cool. And they also had some cool action sequences, like we saw soldiers shooting zombies with machine guns and shotguns. Also, Nick Cannon made the spear thing, and he was killing zombies with that, like stabbing them up, cutting off their heads. So it was cool with that. So some special effects were good, some special effects were bad. Well, most of the special effects were bad. Most of them were. And also, there was a vegetarian zombie in this movie. A vegetarian zombie. That was just weird. It's kind of dumb. Since when are zombies vegetarians? I mean, zombies are supposed to be man-eating, ferocious carnivores, not vegetarians. Although I did like that they paid some tribute to the original Day of the Dead. Like, they had the underground bunker at the end of this one, since the original movie took place in an underground bunker. And also they had some of the characters from the original movie, although just portrayed different in this movie. Like, they had the zombie Bub, although they changed it to Bud in this movie. And he's the vegetarian zombie who I just mentioned. Like, he's on the cover right here. And I believe that's Bud right there on the cover. And Bub's also on my shirt. Although at least they had an excuse for him being a vegetarian in the original movie, because he was a carnivore at first, but he was being educated by a scientist, so he taught him very well, so he became a good zombie. In this one, he's just a vegetarian, like that, and he's a good zombie, like that. Although they did have, since in the original movie, Bub shot like a pistol, in this movie he was shooting a pistol too, so I like that tribute right there. Another thing that attracted me to this movie, that caught my attention, not just because it's a remake to a George R. R. Romero movie, it's also because of who directed it. Steve Miner. Like, he directed movies I like. Like, he directed Friday the 13th Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 3, which I think are the best Friday the 13th movies. He also directed Halloween H2O, one of the better Halloween sequels. He also directed House, which I think is one of the best haunted house themed horror movies. He also directed Lake Placid, which I thought was a good giant alligator movie. 5 movies of his that I actually like, so I had some pretty high hopes when I saw him directing this movie. But I'm sorry to say this, he failed. Failed to make a good remake, a good zombie movie. I mean, Steve, I like you, but I did not like this movie. I liked those movies though, but not this one. So, I think it's basically like all I gotta say. So, I probably would just say rent this movie, not buy it. I mean, and also from my previous reviews, you saw I liked movies like 976 Evil, Fright Night, and also from my video on my favorite horror remakes, you saw I liked movies like 13 Ghosts. On the other hand, that has a fan base, so there's people who like that. But you saw I liked the remake of The Fog. Yes, The Fog. A movie that nearly everyone out there hates. Although I liked it for some reason. I just did. Don't know why, I just did. But I actually thought that that movie was better than this movie, because even though the CGI in The Fog wasn't anything spectacular, but it was better than this one, though. It also had a better story than this as well. So, it looked like it had more effort. At least The Fog made it to the theater. This was just straight DVD. Although I read that this was supposed to be having a limited release in the theater, but didn't make it because of the bad reviews it was getting. I mean, I give them thumbs up for their action, their suspense, because there was, forgot to mention, there was a suspenseful scene where these characters were they were locked in a radio studio, and we saw that one of them was infected because they had a bloody nose, and we didn't know who it was, so, and you'd be surprised who it was. So I give them thumbs up for their action, their suspense, and their cast too. Well, I give them thumbs down for their special effects, their editing, and their simple story. So, unlike some other movies I reviewed and liked and recommended, this movie on the other hand, I will not recommend. I mean, although this wasn't worst horror remake. To me, the worst horror remake was Psycho. This was better than Psycho, Black Christmas, The Omen, House of Wax. So this was just a little watchable, but overall not good. And I think that's about it. So tune in next time.